one thing is about how Sadia Khan was exposed, and the second thing is how to be really happy in life. We're gonna go a little bit back and forth between these two things. They might not seem related, but you will see maybe they are. So let's start with Sadia Khan. A lot of people told me, well, you were so soon, you really nailed the thing, and you already knew a year before everybody else that, she's not authentic and so forth. And to be honest, I knew this much, much sooner. I knew this like even years before when she first appeared. I instantly felt it was very off. It didn't feel authentic. And I'm an expert in understanding relationships and understanding energy fields and these kind of things. And I could sense there's not much competence and not much knowledge there. A lot of these things are probably also just she reads them somewhere in a book or in a video and then just recommunicates them, and I don't think there is much original stuff there. And relations are, we're gonna talk also, I can speak about my perspective also in terms of like relationships, in terms of what to look at and what to not look at, and how to really fix things in relationships. We could make like a master class on that as well. So first of all, what she did is that she speaks a lot of times about high value men and high value women. But in the audio, she was, in her audio leak, she was actually exposed that she was a side chick by some guy, and she was talking to the woman that she was about to get married to that guy, and she said she could give him... We have a fly here on the microphone. And she told him, I could give him blowjobs anytime. If I wanted to. And that leak got exposed, and it showed how not only vulgar and vile, but also how low value she actually is. But that wasn't really any surprise. Hi, Channel 4. That wasn't really any surprise. It didn't surprise me at all. Back to school again for me. Okay. Unfortunately, right? I did hate school when I went to school. Seems like this fly loves the microphone. So we're gonna talk about what was it? Jesus, what's going on with this fly? It's like the fly doesn't want me to do a live stream. Why are flies attracted to the windshield, the windshields, the pop shields of those microphones? Never understood it. So flies are annoying. They get in my house all the time. Yeah, especially in the van life here in the north of Spain right now. It gets crazy. So, and this is a different type of fly. It's like red on the side. It's a little bit different. So yeah, let's talk about happiness, and then we're gonna come back to Sadia Khan. So how do you become really happy in life? I really want to talk about this because a lot of my days are 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I wouldn't say 10 out of 10, that would be crazy, but a lot of my days are like this. And so I think I have a good grasp on what really makes you happy. In comparison to other people who might just talk about it, but they're not really happy. So, I mean, I do have bad days, naturally, but those are mostly tied to health issues, if I have them. But luckily, I'm an energy healer, so I can heal a lot of stuff. Some things might take a little bit longer, some shorter, but I do have great techniques, which I'm also going to share. But let's start with the first thing. So everyone has a soul plan or a soul mission. And this is very unique to each individual person or being. meaning that you come to this earth with a certain karmic and energetic and astrologic profile. And this profile has a certain kind of like, it wants to experience something, wants to do something, it wants to have certain kind of frictions and experiences and so forth. And what happens is that most people are, instead of following their soul plan, they're actually following their conditioned life. Their conditioned brain is usually by family, school, society, culture, as to what they're supposed to do, kind of like. So a lot of people become, for example, a similar job or the same job as their parents, for example, and so forth. And that is the conditioned mind. And I've done a lot of soul plan readings. I noticed this when I talk to people. And I think I do even have a podcast about a soul plan reading on this channel, if I remember correctly. I do have a whole bunch in different languages where I do soul plan readings. So anyway, so you figure out your soul plan. And let's say your soul plan is to have children. Okay, so for some people, it's very simple. It's, for example, just to have children. For other people, it might be, they're supposed to become healers, shamans. I don't know. Other people are supposed to be, big movie stars. Other people are supposed to like work with nature, whatever. Everybody has a very unique soul plan. And somebody wants to really, in their soul plan, want to be a teacher of teachers, whatever. And so once you understand that there's the conditioned mind which leads you to certain routes into your life, like and then there's the soul plan. And the deep unhappiness comes when you don't know your soul plan and you follow the conditioned life. The conditioned life might even come from a book, like you're following some kind of role model or something that you've read about or seen, but it doesn't really resonate with you. It's just like you assume that's something you can do or should do, but it doesn't really deeply resonate with you. And so the moment you know your soul plan is one thing, okay? But then you need the capability to actually follow in the direction of your soul plan and really manifest it. And that's what I call lifestyle design. And the interesting thing is, if you have the power of the ability to do lifestyle design, which is becoming ever more increasingly simple and accessible through modern tools, and you know your soul plan, and you combine these two things, lifestyle design with your soul plan, then you'll be happy pretty much every single day. And some people have the instinct or the intuition to have the luck to do both of these things, but other people need to learn both of these things. They need to learn their soul plan, and they need to learn lifestyle design. Because, for example, they might not have the belief system, the cultural background, the social background that they come out of. They might not have the power to do this or the knowledge to do this. The good thing is that we have more and more knowledge to do lifestyle design and more tools. Just looking, for example, at artificial intelligence, at YouTube, learning from YouTube, all of these things allow you to learn lifestyle design. And for example, think about, for example, you want it to be in your soul mission, in your soul plan, for example, you want to be a yoga teacher or like a fitness instructor or chiropractor, I don't know, whatever. Think about how much information is out there right now where you can actually learn and market yourself as such. It didn't exist 50 years ago. You would maybe get a book or two or book a course on the other side, in the world to learn something. Now you can learn everything on the internet and market yourself worldwide. So lifestyle design becomes easier, but a lot of people miss the soul plan because they only live within the conditioned mindset. I need to be a startup founder. So, okay, then you're a startup founder. That's a little bit like Jim Carrey, who wanted to be super rich by being a movie actor, and then he found out that he received everything that he ever wanted and wasn't happy. There's so many people that get exactly what their conditioned mind told them they need, and they're not happy. And this is the interesting thing, that you can only be truly happy when you're in the soul plan, not when you're in the conditioned mind. Whatever it is that you get from the conditioned mind, you imagine you become multi-billionaire, just from one day to the next. It's not a guarantee that you will be happy, because it's not a guarantee that it's in your soul plan. So if your soul plan says you should be a teacher, I don't know, in Papua New Guinea, then having billions on your account will not make you truly happy. So this is super important to understand. Once you understand that your soul plan is unique and it has nothing to do with the conditioned mind, you can actually move forward towards your soul plan. How do you know your soul plan? There are people like me who do the soul plan reading, which takes half an hour to an hour, but there's another way, which is for free. Is watch yourself. You can do this also with others. A friend of mine can do it for you. A friend of yours can do it for you. Watch yourself when you get more excited about talking about something, or when your eyes become bigger, or both. So you're like, when you're talking about school, you're like, but then you're, for example, talking about basketball, and you're like, yeah, and then I'm going to play like this. So, and watch yourself where you become the most excited, where your eyes open up the most. And that's actually part of your soul plan. This is the easiest way to figure out your soul plan. If I were to give it instead of doing a soul plan reading, if I were to try to give the simplest advice. And so it's a little bit like with Bashar for your highest excitement, but it's a little bit different in that sense. So that way you find out your soul plan, and then inform yourself and learn about lifestyle design. I'm definitely going to talk about on this channel about these things more, because I consider myself a spiritual YouTuber, a spiritual red pill YouTuber, where I help you basically see through the veil, the matrix, and see really what's behind it, and how to kind of, I don't want to say escape it, but to have a more panoramic view of life, what life really is and how it works. So we're definitely going to talk about this. So you said black clouds normally show the sign of depression and sadness, but with the support of happiness, they can push those black clouds away, and then happiness is the sun and makes the grass green. I have a question. What is a soul plan? A soul plan is basically, let me see if I have good words for it. It's like, let's start with what it's not. The conditioned mind. Let's say you go to school, okay? And in school, the physics teacher tells you, oh, you're really good in physics, you should go into physics, okay? And you're like, I don't know what to do anyway, so I'll just go, I don't know, to Oxford and study physics. I don't know, whatever. And then you go to Oxford and you become really good, and you're like top of the, kind of like thing, but you're not truly happy. Maybe you're even depressed. Maybe you're even thinking about suicide. Although you're the best in class, for example, let's just imagine, okay? That's conditioned. That's the conditioned mind. That's somebody externally conditioning your mind and forcing you into a direction that you never wanted to go into. The soul plan is more something that pre-exists almost your birth. It's kind of like you come into this world and you're supposed to fulfill almost like an esoteric or metaphysical mission on this earth. For example, I see some people, their soul plan is just to get kids. So the woman meets another guy, they have kids, and the relationship immediately falls apart. And they wonder, why did the relationship fall apart? And I'm like, did you ever love this man? And she will be like, nah. And then, yeah, because, and then I'll do the reading. I'll try to feel it. And a lot of times it comes up that she was only supposed to get children. She's only supposed to support her children. She doesn't have, and maybe him as well, they don't have this kind of they're supposed to become successful, they're supposed to become, I don't know, a specific thing in their field that they work in. They should be doing, this or that. It was literally just to get kids and support the kids for this next generation then. And so everyone has a very unique soul plan, and the soul plan can be, it's like an energetic imprint of what you're supposed to live through and experience in this life, instead of, you know, the mind conditioned kind of path. I don't know if that helps, that explanation. It's like, for me, I can tell you my soul plan. I know what my soul plan is. A huge part of my soul plan is helping other souls grow, helping other souls in their evolution. That's a huge part of my soul plan. And I see this coming up over and over again as a pattern in my life, that whatever I do, wherever I go, it always includes pushing people to the next level on a spiritual plane. And even it just happens unconsciously, and there's no logical thing to it, in the sense, like, I'm not going like, oh, I want to help everyone. No, it just happens by itself, kind of. So it's very connected with that, but at the same time, it's very closely related also to what I call libido empowerment. We're going to talk about that also a lot more. So libido empowerment is basically the open sacral chakra, the sexuality and joy. And for me, that's a very powerful center astrologically in human design speaking. So that is very connected with my joy. And so anything that I do that suppresses that is bad. Anything that I do that, you know, amplifies it, it makes me feel more alive, more vital, more energized is the right word, more energized. And it's very, very exciting to see different people's, you know, soul plan. I also, another part of my soul plan, which is also very obvious, is taking deep understandings or deep emotions or deep analysis on a metaphysical or esoteric plane or spiritual plane, and bring it to the surface, to the masses. That's also one thing that's very connected to my soul plan. So, and for example, if I was thinking about opening a campsite for van lifers and so forth, but it would be a spiritual awakening campsite only. And when I talk about it, I really get like this kind of like excitement. I get like, oh, this could be really cool, and we would have a podcast center and a stage where musicians can be active and so forth, and recording studio and all of that stuff, and that gets me excited. It doesn't mean that you need to push necessarily with brute force in that direction. You can be, you know, kind of laid back about it. But you have to use some form of lifestyle design in order to move in that direction. So, for example, talk about it a little bit more on the internet, open yourself up more with people about it, make small plans about how you could go in that direction, and it will just open by itself. It's like a little door that's already open all the time, and you just slowly press it completely open. And so that helps a lot. And if you have these two things and they coincide, the lifestyle design with the soul plan, then it's very hard to be unhappy. It's literally like the equation for being happy. You can have spiritual awakening, but even the spiritual awakening is no guarantee for a deep, fulfilled kind of like sense of purpose, I would say. Because you can be spiritually awakened, but it doesn't mean that your purpose, for example, to be a teacher, a spiritual teacher or something. You still have a soul purpose. Even though you might have spiritually awakened, you still have a soul purpose. Maybe the spiritual awakening helps you in going even further with that soul plan, with where you're supposed to go. And back to Sadia Khan. The thing is with Sadia Khan is sometimes people because of their karmic imprints and their trauma and these emotions, they go in a direction which doesn't really fulfill like their soul plan. And I feel, for example, Sadia Khan in her soul plan, if I do a very quick analysis, I don't think she's supposed to be like a psychologist on relationships. I think what she's actually living through, and this is why she gets exposed right now, is that she needs to first clear her karma or her trauma. And I think that's why, and I knew this. Even when I was doing the video a year ago, I already felt it like a few years ago when I heard about Sadia Khan. When I saw the first video, I knew she's not becoming famous for her truth in relationships and for authenticity. I knew she was getting famous for facing her own inner demons, karmic energy, emotional unresolved patterns. And now exactly this is happening. So this is exactly happening with Sadia Khan now. And it's going to get worse for her until she becomes conscious of her unresolved anger, her unresolved necessity for being accepted, for being liked, for being loved, which definitely comes from her parents or close family when she was young. It's 100% clear. And she gets very aggressive. She gets very aggressive when she's questioned, when she's not fully accepted for her bullshit. And that's all surfacing, and it will become even more intense. And I find her intense lust, because it's not just desire, it's really a lust for power and money, especially for the money part, where she wants to be like the number one Dubai bitch, kind of like, she wants to be the one that apparently doesn't need an OnlyFans, but can rise to high fames and take $10,000 for coaching sessions. She wants to be like the elite of female coaches. And the thing is, in my opinion, she doesn't fulfill that role in any shape or form. But what's the thing is, why it works for her is because she basically fakes almost like an eloquent English accent. And she it's a little bit like for example, with Andrew Tate, you at least know what you get. You're like, okay, this is a guy from Luton, England, who he said, he knows, he said it himself, you can get someone out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of him. And he knows this. Whereas I think Sadia Khan is literally thinks she can take the ghetto out of her, kind of. But I don't know her background, but she definitely doesn't come from a healthy, stable kind of background where she was treated properly, I would say. There must be something about, her desperate need for being accepted and that and loved that must have been lacking when she was small. And I'm not trying to judge it. I'm just saying how it is in terms of like what she's gonna have to face and what she's gonna And I've noticed on her Instagram, when she responded to people, and including to me once when I called her out on something, she was very aggressive. Where I was like, ooh, okay. And she's going to just get more of that. And that's also the reason why she immediately disabled the ability to comment on the last few videos that she posted on Instagram. The thing is, if it's a lie, if it were not true, then you make a video, you allow the comments, you make a video, and you set everything straight. But if you lock everything down, you close the comments, you just look very guilty. And I think nowadays, the best thing is to confront things head on rather than pretend that they don't exist. And she doesn't understand that it's just going to get bigger. I think it's going to have a Barbra Streisand effect. That if she pretends that nothing happened, it's going to get even more intense. And she's probably going to, probably more people are going to release stuff about her that they have saved somewhere. And I didn't bother with her because I'm not the kind of investigative kind of like guy who goes after people, try to expose them. I just saw her videos a couple of times and I noticed, and this is also in my soul plan. This is a very huge thing in my soul plan. I've done this since forever, even before Spiritual Awakening, is I recognize and trigger people in their most core ego aspects. So if they have an ego, if they're in their ego, there's an aspect which is unresolved and is especially exuberant in their ego. I usually have the tendency to intuitively trigger that and to do and say things to make that surface. And I've always done it, even as a child. So that's a very strong part of my soul plan. I think that's also why a lot of people actually avoid me, even in relationships, because they know, instinctively they know that they cannot hide within the relationship. They cannot they won't get a regular trauma response which feeds their codependency in a relationship. They're going to get, the light, basically. They're going to get the true reflection. And I think that's a light that a lot of people cannot deal with, because most relationships are really codependency relationships, especially nowadays. And there's very few people really ready for a high conscious, high reflective relationship that is truly based on trying to understand and trying to grow. It's usually, and that leads basically to another thing which I call toxic metaframing, which is connected with libido empowerment and libido suppression. We're going to be talking about that a lot, which if you are libido suppressed, meaning you're not in your joy and sexuality, then you tend to, if you're not conscious enough, you tend to project it on the other person. And as you project it on the other person, you start to toxic metaframe them. In short, for people who don't yet know what toxic metaframing is, you basically start to insult them and blame them for your unhappiness, for your misery. And this happens in pretty much every relationship, because pretty much every relationship is codependent and toxic, but people don't recognize it because they've become so used to it that they don't recognize actually that they have an unconscious relationship. I would say 99% of relationships out there are toxic and unaware, unconscious relationships. It always goes good until the point where somebody is unhappy or lacks sexuality in their sacral chakra, or there's just unhappiness. Then they start to blame the partner, and then things drift apart. And the opposite of toxic metaframing is actually giving short, small, very clear compliments. So if, for example, your spouse did something well, do an authentic, truthful, short compliment instead of, even if you feel unhappy in yourself. And I think one of the things that people need to do is they need to make a list of what truly makes them happy and what truly gives them joy, even if it's just for the moment. It could be just the thing that you want to do for that day that gives you joy. And when you allow yourself those things that give you joy or sexuality, and you immediately come into your open sacral chakra, then you instantly stop being in your libido suppression. You come into libido empowerment, and that forces basically the relationship again into an equilibrium. And a lot of people don't understand this simple mechanic. And the thing is, if you are together with a narcissist who is unconscious that you can't fix the relationship, it's never going to get fixed, because you need a high conscious awareness or spiritual progress in order to see these things. And if one of the partners is a true narcissist, then whatever you do, nothing will work. The disconnect, the physical disconnect to the narcissist will work. And here's actually something super interesting. By removing yourself from the narcissist, you're actually giving him the biggest present, because silence and disconnect makes them reflect themselves. It's basically the harshest response for spiritual growth that you can give them. The moment you feed into their attention desire, they don't need to reflect. They just keep on playing their game. And the narcissist is a Formula One driver of emotional manipulation, from gaslighting, push and pull, all kinds of tactics, blame shifting, shame. They are the absolute Formula One driver of emotional, damage. And so you cannot deal, play, out, maneuver, strategize with a narcissist. You have absolutely no chance of winning. The only chance of winning is by disconnecting completely and finding yourself a non-narcissistic partner. So that's a huge thing. I mean, I'm jumping now quickly through these points, but they're all interconnected and they all make a lot of sense. And actually, once you understand them, you realize that what I'm giving you here right now are truly life-changing insights into how relationships work. And now I come to another point. It's like, what relationships truly work on a long-term scale, on a deeply satisfying, deeply purposeful relationships. There's only two things that you need. Well, only. It's hard to get them, but the number one thing is you have to understand your soul plan that we were talking about before, and you have to understand the soul plan of your partner. And if those two soul plans match each other or are supportive of each other, then the relationship works. Meaning, if you're supposed to, for example, be a spiritual teacher, okay, or a yoga teacher, whatever, and your partner is actually, for example, very good in administrative things and wants to support you, for example, administratively with your project. I'm just giving one of million examples, okay? Then it will work, because you are both, and let's say their soul plan is to really support someone like you, for example, then it will work. The number one reason why relationships go apart is because the people have a different soul plan. And you can analyze this. Look at different people when their marriage went apart, when they broke up, even for celebrities. Look at, why did they come together? What's their soul plan? And try to really understand. Like, it's a little bit hard because you don't know these people personally, and if they're actors or singers, whatever, they're good at hiding their true kind of like character and emotions. But if you look very carefully, you can see like what their soul plan is. And if, let's take for example J-Lo, and I think she was together with Ben Affleck, right? She had so many different relationships with different types of people. And ask yourself, for example, what is J-Lo's soul plan? Like, what excites her? I don't know her personally, so I don't know what truly excites her. And I would have to do like a soul plan reading to really feel her or connect with her energetically. But I would say her soul plan, for example, I'm just gonna try to feel it now. It has probably something to do with expressing herself, of course, with fashion and music. That's of course not hard to guess. And he for example, Ben Affleck, he seemed to be suppressed. She didn't really feel libido suppressed, but probably because her soul plan is not really marriage, otherwise she wouldn't have jumped from one marriage to the next. He didn't feel fulfilled because he was actually looking for a truth. He seems like the guy who's looking for a solid, traditional, good relationship, and he read her soul plan incorrect and was just probably baffled by her Latina kind of vibe. And so they came together, but they don't have a soul plan match at all. Because he was probably looking for something more like traditional and down to earth, whereas she's more like the flamboyant Latina, looking for the high life and expressing herself. I see her more like in the clouds, where he feels like more earthy. And but that's a very bad soul match. And if he then falls into libido suppression, then he starts to blame her. Okay. And then the whole relationship becomes shit. So that's not the best analysis, but it would be like that's how it basically goes. So the soul plan, supportive or similar soul plan or same soul plan. So that's one thing for a good relationship. And the second thing for a good relationship is chakra attraction. And I'm going to have to explain it because for people that don't know me, I'm a tantra master. I did over 1,000 sessions with women, tantric intimate sessions. And I can feel energy blockages and I can feel emotions in those energy fields. And I can pull them out like with all kinds of techniques like acupressure, massage, Reiki, and so forth. And women had crazy experiences in my sessions. Sometimes I'm even blown away myself when they tell me the experiences. But the last woman told me it felt like microdosing on mushrooms for several days. So just so you understand that I feel these energies, okay? And you have the 7 main chakras. I go by the yoga system. You have the 7 main chakras, like the root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, heart chakra, throat chakra, third eye chakra, and crown chakra. You have many more chakras, but those are like the main ones. And the nadis, the 3 important nadis, the 3 important energy channels, Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, they basically run through these chakras and they kind of manifest. And then the chakras kind of distribute the energy through a whole bunch of nadis throughout the whole body. Kind of like that's the basic energy system of your body. And that gives you the vitality. And what happens is that astrologically, those, and karmically, depending on when your karma you have, that those are specifically aligned. And they have specific blockages, they're specifically aligned, you have certain traumas also. And there's certain things you have to work through in your kundalini, in your chakra fields, and so forth, in your energy, psychoenergetic field. And what happens is that these chakras have corresponding chakras in the feminine field. So if you're a guy, you search them in the feminine field. If you're a woman, you search them in the masculine field. And so you're kind of like lacking. For the full equilibrium, you are lacking the corresponding opposite energy, the yin-yang kind of, okay? So you, for example, let's say you're 60% masculine, 40% feminine in this energy field, then you're going to look for 60% feminine, 40% masculine, and you're going to match with that energy field. And that goes for each different chakra, okay? It's not unified through all the chakras. So, and then what happens is you have 3 types of relationships. The strongest relationships, there's more than that, but I call them the asymmetric relationships. Those are the ones on the sacral chakra, which is the joy in sexuality, which is kind of like I find the guy hot, colloquially speaking. I feel the chemistry, the sexual chemistry. He activates me. Then you have the heart chakra, which is the conditional, unconditional love. And then you have the third eye chakra, which is the spiritual growth relationship. It could be the platonic relationship. Even just a heart chakra relationship could just be a platonic relationship if it doesn't include the sacral chakra, if it's just on the heart chakra. And the third eye is kind of like the spiritual guru relationship. You notice that when you become super present with someone. It could be a woman, it could be a man, it doesn't matter. You become super present, you don't think about the past or future, and you feel like pushed into, you feel almost like you're in a different realm with that person in comparison to others. And on the heart chakra, it's clear, everybody knows that when you fall in love and your heart chakra becomes like activated. And that's why it also feels like something is being pulled out as you fall in love. Because what happens is actually that as you move into a field where you feel safe and energetically pulled into someone else's chakra field, then your chakra field expands. So you actually, your heart chakra is actually expanding. That's why you feel it. It's being activated. It's being warmed. And that's why you are actually falling in love, because you're actually, expanding your energy field and seeking. It's kind of like a magnet. You're being basically, for that which you're seeking, you're being pulled into the other person's chakra. And now we can of course go very deeply in tantra, but first I want to explain this chakra attraction. So you have three relationship types, strong relationships types: sacral, heart, and third eye. And if you have all three of them, it's like a lottery ticket. It's like you won in the lottery when you find someone who you're connect with that like that. And I'm going to explain something. In about 1,000 sessions that I did, only 3 people I had a brutally strong sacral chakra attraction. But it's so strong that you can't even do a normal chakra session. It basically becomes instantly more than that. It's impossible. That the pull is so strong. It's like you have 2 magnets loaded at maximum level, like radioactive level, and you can't control it. It's like super strong. And I met once a person in real life which was standing next to me. I didn't even notice that this person was standing behind me, and I could feel the sacral chakra activating the same type of way, but she was 3 meters away from me. And we turned around at exactly the same time because we could both feel that energy. So every person has an astrological match for any of those 3 energy fields, but they get very rarely activated. They don't get activated that often. So you have to meet a lot of people before these get activated. So, and now I'm going to blow your mind, okay, if you're still listening. Most people make the mistake to go into a relationship based on superficial factors like interests, looks, height, and so forth. But almost no one bases their relationship on energetic compatibility and attraction within the chakras. And this is super interesting because only the energetic attraction is the guaranteed attraction. Meaning if somebody is superficially attractive, that might go away. Maybe when they drop their makeup, their hair looks different, they don't dress that well anymore, they get a little bit fatter, whatever. They suddenly don't become that attractive to you anymore. And that's where a lot of relationships fail as well. So what happens is actually when there is an energetic attraction within the 3 main chakras, then you actually have a long-term thing, because that astrological pull never wanes. It never becomes smaller. It will always be there. And I knew Caroline, who was one of my clients. I had a very strong attraction with her on the sacral chakra, and we felt it both. And we had a pause when we saw each other because she had a boyfriend. And then when we saw each other again, it was still there, like for the first time, this energetic pull. The problem is I'm an HSP. I can feel these energies. A lot of people cannot feel these energies. They're not very good at. They're not that connected with their body. They can maybe explain it colloquially very easily, but they don't have really a distinguishing, they don't have an ability to really distinguish between what they're feeling and where it's coming from and their energies and so forth. But when you become really good at it, maybe through meditation, whatever, then you can actually resist getting into contact intimately with people that you don't have this strong attraction with. It's horrible when you feel it and the other person doesn't feel it, because then you're like, we should give this a chance, but the other person doesn't see it. They don't understand it. So they will say, like, superficially, you're not my type, but energetically I will know, yes, this is your type, energetically speaking. So people should actually be looking for that. So what you need for a perfect relationship is the symmetrical chakra attraction and the soul plan match. And when you have those two things, then it's a lottery ticket. Then the relationship is gonna last, it's gonna work. Because everything else, even the conflicts, they happen on a mind basis. They happen on a logical mind basis. But the good relationships, they're an energetic relationship. And a lot of people don't understand that. And here comes the thing. You cannot force, I tried it, trust me, you cannot force strong chakra, astrological chakra relationships. It's pure chance whether you meet these people. You cannot be like, oh, okay, I'm going to do these exercises and it becomes a stronger chakra relationship. There are exercises which I developed, like the chakra breathing exercise, which I can show in one of the videos, which can clear unnecessary traumas and unnecessary conflicts within the relationship. It's great for people that have a conflict on a logical or active consciousness conflict or a mental conflict within the relationship. You can clear it very quickly, and you can clear very quickly energetically blocked relationships if the underlying energy is good, if the underlying energy is compatible. And I did this with various couples, and it always worked charmingly. So that's another thing. Like, so if you have the soul plan match, the soul plan support, plus the chakra attraction. And now let me explain just very shortly the difference between codependency relationships, and which are asymmetric chakra relationships, and the symmetric relationships. The symmetric chakra relationships are sacral chakra to sacral chakra, heart chakra to heart chakra, third eye to third eye. Those are the healthy relationships. I love you from the heart chakra, you love me from the heart chakra. I'm spiritually growing with you, you're spiritually growing with me, third eye chakra. I feel sexually attracted to you, you feel sexually attracted to me, sacral chakra. Perfect. Now, the asymmetric one, which a lot of people, like, I don't know how many, like 80-90% or more, are codependency asymmetric chakra relationships. It's like, and a lot of modern relationships are like that. I am safe, I have money, I'm forceful in the root chakra, for example, the guy, and the woman is weak in the root chakra, feels very unsafe, and actually doesn't love him, so there's no strong heart chakra relationship, but she stays with him because she lacks in the root chakra, which he complements. And then, possibly even, because he's not receiving the love that he aims for, he maybe even criticizes her, doesn't accept her 100% because he wants the love. So he criticizes her, but she accepts it, for example, because, let's say, she wasn't accepted by her parents fully. And those type of codependency, asymmetric chakra relationships, there are millions of them, and they stay together forever without recognizing what they're actually playing through. It's very, very funny to watch, kind of. It's if it wouldn't be so tragic. And there's very few very healthy relationships in that sense. And you don't even have to work on it, because the moment that you sense there is the strong chakra connection, that's all you need. Unfortunately, a lot of times you only find out whether there is a good chakra relationship in that sense if there's some form of tantra involved, meaning that people come closely into their energetic field and play with the energetic field. And now I'm going to blow your mind. That's actually the purpose of dancing. That's why dancing was invented. It's for the sacral chakra, for the joy, but it's also for playing woman to man with the energetic field to test and to see who's compatible with you. And if you look at the old dances, whatever they were, it was exactly that. So it's fascinating to watch. And now if you go into a disco or a bar or whatever where there's dancing, it's completely lost that sense. So basically, and I always said this, dancing is actually, in that sense, is a form of tantra if you do it that way. Because you're actually mixing and testing and enjoying your tantric energy. And that's why dancing can feel so ecstatic in that sense. In theory, you could, if a tantric dance, if dancing would be done in a tantric way, you could even get an energy orgasm from it without problems. And now we come to something very esoteric, metaphysical, which is hard to, I think, follow for a lot of people, but I learned this in my sessions. You can even have energetic chakra sex with another person without actually having intercourse. Somebody who does a lot of tantra will understand what I mean, but most people, it will just blow their mind. And maybe they're too religious and too closed off to understand that is actually possible. That's when the attraction is really strong on an energetic field. It can be that the mind is not involved at all, that the mind is like, I'm not into him that much, but the energy field might be. So I wanted to explain that as well, so you understand like what is even possible. And now comes the really interesting thing about this. Unless you understand these things deeply, from a yogic, tantric, chakra, nadi basis, yin-yang, chakra attraction, soul plan, you have actually, I mean, this is, I'm taking a full mouth now with this mouthful of this. You have actually no business speaking about relationships, because you are just trying to put a bandage on a massive wound and it won't heal if you don't understand these energetic things about relationships. So if you're going out there and coaching people on relationships, none of it will work unless you look at these deeper things. And so I don't want to go around criticizing, coaches that do these things, because sometimes they do great work in terms of like reflecting, but none of them have this deep understanding. And that's why I have a lot of respect for tantra teachers that do work with couples, because I think tantric groups where you work with couples allow you to explore that realm, that world, without prejudice, without dogma, and just looking at what happens in a playful way with these energies with your partner that you already know. And I think that that's very good basis to learn from. And that sums it up for now for the live stream. If you like it, subscribe, and we'll talk about more stuff soon. Whoop. And the good thing is, soon probably I will have over 1,000 subscribers, hopefully. I have to make more content, and then it'll get more traction as well.